Would you describe yourself as creative, or does that side of you feel frozen? It's been 10 years since Adobe's State of Create survey found that 60% of 5,000 respondents wouldn't describe themselves as creative. This is somewhat unsurprising in many ways because the word carries a lot of baggage and it gets tethered to all sorts of unhelpful ideas that make it feel exclusive at times and like it's something that belongs to other people. But creativity is what makes us human. It belongs to all of us. It flows through our voice, sound, spirit, character. It moves in us, with us, through us. It's us at our most human, feeling, needing, longing. And it's us at our most timeless, ageless, formless. It wakes us up when we're going through the motions and shows us new possibilities when things feel stuck. It helps us travel and explore when we are stuck, grounded, unable to move very far. Creativity doesn't need to be a big thing, such as a grand symphony or a masterpiece. Of course, creativity fuels what brings those things to life, but creativity itself is smaller, closer, more personal. It's in each of us, driving us, speaking to us and through us, nudging us to collaborate, play and explore with life, just because it's who we are, it's what we do. Welcome to the Gentle Rebel podcast, where we explore the intersection of high sensitivity, creativity and the impact of culture on who and how we are. I'm Andy Mort, and in this episode we're going to reflect on some of what we discussed at a Haven Cotter gathering at the weekend when Tuula shared her fascinating journey with macro ice photography. I've grabbed a few clips from what she said at the meeting because I think it's a great example of how accidental creativity can emerge in the cracks of life when we're open to it, even though we're not expecting or demanding it. And Tuula has given me permission to share them with you. I had asked Tuula if she might be open to sharing her story with us in the Haven a while ago. And we put together a video because it felt like a really, the best way to both show and discuss the ice photos that she creates. I'll pop a link in the description so that you can watch it if you like. It's about 15 minutes long. And it's a beautiful reminder of, the way that creativity can emerge in unexpected and playful ways. And it also illustrates the relationship between deep sensitivity and creativity as a means of processing and responding to and expressing ourselves in the world. Tuula is an amateur macro photographer with a background in visual and online learning design, and she co-created something called Photo Yoga for the Mind back in 2017 with a psychotherapist friend of hers. And as photographers, they had both intuitively used photography as part of their own recovery and inadvertently discovered this novel way to combine simple creative acts with the development of deeper self-understanding, awareness and expression. And we are currently kicking off a new season of Photo Yoga for the Mind. We adapted it and translated it from the original Finnish into English back in 2022 and ran it for a couple of years, but we haven't run it for a while. So I'm really excited to be doing it again. And I hope this episode just kind of gives you a sense of the underlying approach and philosophy of Photo Yoga for the Mind and how it supports and inspires participants to use creativity, in particular photographs, in a very simple yet unconventional way that helps us notice more of what is around and within and between us. Maybe creativity is the way that you see and connect with the things that catch your attention.
I started macro photography before I started to take ice photos, and that happened during summertime. It began with, everything that I found on the ground, flowers or fungi, I'm not, for some reason, I'm not interested in those anymore. But not that much. I'm kind of frozen during summer.
I love this idea. There are a number of creative contradictions at the heart of this conversation. And I am a big fan of a creative contradiction because it makes us sit up and take note and explore the worlds, not as we've been given them, but as we experience them. The sense that Tuula's creativity goes through a frozen, sort of fallow period during the summer when the ice is gone, and comes to life in the winter during a season we traditionally associate with kind of deadness, lifelessness, is really fascinating. It also brings to mind for me how creativity can move in cycles and seasons. The world often demands and expects us to be in productivity mode all the time, to be constantly striving, constantly growing, constantly pushing it, which can be a real recipe for overstretching and overwhelming our capacity to stay fresh and playful, let alone well and rested. Also, that creativity starts small and close in, noticing what catches our attention, where we are, and capturing it with any means necessary. I was interested in Tuula's draw towards macro photography in the first place. What was it about getting really up close to subjects that attracted her more than broader landscapes and portraits and the bigger picture, in a sense? Maybe creativity is what comes oozing from you before you have time to think and find an excuse to turn the tap off and shut it down.
Probably because I can't move a lot. I don't travel. I don't change places. Nothing changes around me. But when I go really close, I suddenly have like huge amounts of opportunities because those really tiny things, they are everywhere. And they looked so different and new to me. That was interesting.
In the wake of burnout and chronic illnesses and conditions, movement restricted, travel becomes something that you do in partnership with your imagination. And you can really see and feel this in Tuula's photos. Each one contains a world, a universe, a million stories to be imagined and told. They are both alien and familiar, ethereal and earthy. It's fascinating how zooming in and getting intimate with detail opens up the lens to see so much that otherwise gets overlooked. I'm constantly having to remind myself that this is ice. These images are ice. They are, what ice looks like when you get up close and personal with it. Incidentally, I think ice itself is the most fascinating thing. I've shared these sounds before, but not for a little while. You might not have heard what we woke up to in March 2025 when the ice on the lake, the same lake that Tuula is talking about, was shifting. It was moving. Within the ice are sounds, a kind of laser gun battle, a drum machine. I don't know what you hear. Likewise, the mysterious shapes and images that you may see in it. And I asked Tuula how she finds it when people see something that she doesn't necessarily see in her images. She mentioned in the video that we shared that she loves it when people tell her what they see when she shares her images on social media. But I wondered if it's ever a challenge when someone sees something so different that maybe it feels like they're looking at a completely different image.
It's the way it's said. Someone saw a horse in a raven photo. And when I said that, okay, for me it's raven. And it was on an exhibition and it had that small blanket where it was said that it's raven. And he just said, no, it's a horse. He didn't accept that I saw it differently. And for me, I was okay that he saw a horse. But when he tried to change my mind, that was like really annoying.
This is a helpful distinction. I think you need ask 10 people to describe what they see in this image and you will get 10 different answers. Which one's correct? All of them and none of them. Maybe creativity is the courage to see what you see and to let that be. It's not wrong, it's not right, it's just different. It helps us practice occupying a nuanced space where the interesting thing isn't what is correct, but what we observe, what we sense, what we notice. This is the source of much more interesting conversations than one revolving around defending why your interpretation is the correct one and anyone who disagrees is wrong. And in this sense, it helps us confront vulnerability and insecurity surrounding differences. So often we filter those feelings by getting defensive. Rather than opening a door to curiosity, we close the door on uncertainty. And that's kind of the difference between a mystery and a secret, holding creativity, holding art as mysterious rather than secretive. When we recognize the mystery in creativity, we are able to hold difference and enjoy the many possibilities and explanations. This is the gift that art gives us, innate elements that can't be fully grasped or fully known. Secrecy, on the other hand, implies a deliberate concealment of some concrete truth, and approaching art in such a way means we believe there is one correct explanation or definition or meaning that is currently hidden from us. And if we don't know what it means, it's because we haven't had it revealed by the person who holds the secret, whether that's the artist or the art critic or the art historian or whatever it might be. It is both a horse and a raven, as well as all those other things we might see in it. Why do we see it differently? All manner of reasons, I guess. We bring our own imaginations, our pattern recognition, the stuff that is maybe consuming our thoughts right now, occupying our mind, the experiences and encounters that it might remind us of, whether consciously or unconsciously. And this is why it becomes a beautiful invitation to explore. It's about so much more than what we see on the surface. It's about what it brings up within us, and then what we might collaborate with others in interpreting and defining and coming up with as we explore together.
For me, like what you see on a photo or image, whatever it is, it's not all of it. What you see is not what you feel. The feeling is somewhere in there, or it's not. I can look at photos and some of them, they say nothing to me. It's just what I see. But maybe someone else doesn't see that emotion or feel in that same photo. I can see that. And that's what also what photo yoga is. And taking those ice photos and seeing those worlds. Why I want to spend time, hours and hours, even when it's really cold and my fingers are blue and I'm stiff because I've just been in the same position so many hours. I just want to be in that different realm, kind of. I'm not in my usual dull, restricted life. I'm somewhere else in my imagination. And I think that's kind of healing for that self-loss anxiety.
I really like this image of creativity as a doorway to different realms, and how much we can provide these for ourselves when we find a creative form that fits us. The longer that Tuula stays in the cold shooting photos, the more unfrozen her mind and feelings can get, she says, dwelling in the realms created by this magical mix of ice and lighting and the features that are caused by unexpected inconsistencies from different temperatures and weather types and cracks in the ice. There's a really interesting symbolism to this, which can sometimes be a sign of a meaningful creative practice. It provides the language to help make sense of life. For me, music is a rich provider of metaphorical language, but it can happen with anything. Sports, hobbies, and anything that occupies your sort of passionate mind. It's a sign that you've found something that speaks the sound of your soul when you find it kind of easy to map it onto other areas of life.
My body is frozen, and literally that maybe why I went there and why I do this is getting that unfreeze feeling, getting away that stuckness. Maybe my body is still frozen in that same position, but my head and my imagination, my feelings, emotions, that's where the unfreezing happens, and that or melting, whatever that happens. And suddenly I am somewhere when I'm accepted and I can accept that, okay, I use this time and I'm not productive in any ways. I'm just doing this. and I allow this to happen.
Here's the contradiction again, this sort of beautiful sense of getting frozen physically when doing the creative act and getting unfrozen, thawing, warming up at the same time in other areas, in the mind, in the way that we feel. When we spend time in that place, we might hit a sweet spot. And this is where the kind of quick fix culture, whether it's through things like generative AI or any other shortcut that promises the result, the outcome without the process, misses something really, really important. And it gives us the impression or the perception of the thing, but it doesn't emerge in the same way. It doesn't come from a meaningful place where there's depth and roots to it. But it's attractive because it's sold as a way to maybe free up time and energy and avoid frustration along the way. But actually, we miss so much when we focus on the outcome as the point of creativity.
Same what you have talked about when you are composing music or putting things together, when you suddenly you know that, ooh, that's the sweet spot. And that happens when I scan the small ice chunk that suddenly maybe I've been there an hour or 2 hours and I hadn't found anything, but I haven't given up. And then something suddenly appears that makes it worthwhile.
It may appear to be about the outcome because that's what we end up with, whether it's a line that just clicks, a photo that speaks to us, or something that finally makes sense. But the process isn't an obstacle to us getting there. It's the fuel for it. And while a quick fix tool might give the impression of the thing we're looking for, it doesn't land in the same way. It doesn't feel like ours. It doesn't feel like us. And it doesn't connect what is stirring around and needing to be seen and processed and spoken within us. I then asked Tuula about the link between photo yoga for the mind and her ice photography.
What I do now is pretty far from the original photo yoga prompts, but it is how I now practice photo yoga. Because at the beginning it was finding, accepting myself and actually doing, because I started it when I was suffering burnout and I was just back staying at home and not doing anything, didn't have energy. But then realized that taking photos actually took me out. It was so interesting, luring. It just made me go out because I wanted to take a few photos. And then for first photos, I didn't have the idea of those photo yoga prompts. But then at some point, I, with my friend who had done the same thing, used photographing to help herself out of bad things and experiences. And we created those prompts to kind of make something tangible of those things people talk about in therapy, for example, about boundaries or having some sort of a shield. I don't know, self-compassion and whatever we do in photo yoga, and make them actually something literal, something tangible, and take a photo of that. There's that doing thing, almost playing when you build something, and then you take a photo, and then you look at the photo, then think the process behind it, and that's more tangible than just talking about things. And suddenly you realize that, oh, I have this photo, I have actually done something.
This is a really powerful point, and one I think so many people would find both relief and inspiration in. The idea of doing something but not to be productive, having something but not as a utility. The photo that gets added to the gallery is a mark of progress, evidence that you did something that you wanted to do. And that progress can't be taken away. It's iterative, it builds forwards, it moves as you move, and it starts at zero but can only increase as photos are added to that gallery. When we focus on linear progress in habits and behavior change, we can feel like we're going 2 steps forward and 3 steps back if we hit an obstacle on the way. But there's something about something like photo yoga which goes against that kind of image of progress and growth and replaces it with that sense that each photo is its own victory to be added to the gallery, to the collection. And the collection represents the journey that you're on and have been on so far. And so it builds and nothing is ever taken away. And it takes you wherever it may go. It's not about starting with the end in mind or setting a clear destination to strive for. That stuff takes care of itself in its own sweet time, like the development of skills and the acquisition of new equipment. The point is you can start with neither, and you can develop and grow along the way if or when you feel an urge to go deeper, to try something different, to experiment with other approaches.
Using photography as a tool, it doesn't have to be art, what you do. The photo itself can be really bad.
Yeah.
But it has something. Again, what you see is not all of it. It's the process and emotions.
We can, in fact, become inhibited by technical skills and the pressure to get things perfect. That's not what this journey is about. It's about becoming aware of what's going on within us when we create, how we're feeling as we do it, as we engage, and the impact of those things on our ability to be honest with ourselves and open to what is possible in the creative process. If we stop worrying what others think and use it to get to know, to get to process, to express who we are in the world.
Maybe that's what creativity really is. Finding a way to let what's inside you come through in whatever form it chooses. Creativity is not just in the end result.
A huge thanks to Tuula for sharing her art with us and for giving me permission to use those clips from the meeting in this episode. We would absolutely love you to come with us on the photo yoga journey this summer. You can learn more about it by going to the-haven.co/photo yoga. Get in touch if you have any questions. And as with the Return to Serenity Island course this year, we are making it available on a choose your own price basis. Well, we've got a guide price there that reflects the time and the effort and the resources that have gone into creating and adapting and hosting it. We really don't want to exclude anyone for whom this resonates, but their financial situation might be an obstacle, knowing that we live in a time where so many of us are experiencing financial uncertainty and change. So choose the amount that feels right for you at checkout. No explanation needed. And we really hope to see you in there and experience this photo yoga journey with you over the next few months. All right, I will be back again soon with another episode of the Gentle Rebel podcast. Until then, do remember that you are an artist. The world needs your art. Now go and make somebody's day. Bye-bye.
So shines a good deed in a weary world.